My
Woohoo!
man, what's
What's going
happening?
on, man?
Oh, it's one of those Fridays with all these technical difficulties. So I'm gonna shoot my end from the phone. So we'll deal with what we can, but we're excited this Friday, man. We're fired up. It's a dream guest episode for us.
Speaking of technical difficulties, I just got a notification like just now that Facebook went live for us. So yeah, we're all about the metaverse, all about everything being combined in one place, but now there's going to be a lot of more technical difficulties. But yeah, this is an absolute bucket list character, a person, episode. It's more than we could have ever dreamed for because, like, we've interviewed so many different people we love and loved and such. But one of our dreams was to always get people from Boy Meets World,
Yep.
and it was just the craziest thing the other day. I'd said, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and do something crazy, like always. And every time I say that, it ends up being, I'm gonna book somebody really, really good. And the first person I sought out was Mr. Turner from Boy Meets World.
And
And it's
that's
very
wild.
important. It is because there's always Feeney, there's always Corey, there's always mom and dad. But for me, and I'm sure for you as well, we feel a great connection to Mr. Turner, right? Which the funny thing is, I was talking to someone the other day and he said, man, can you please thank that guy? I said, oh, for what? Thank him because he made teachers with tattoos and earrings cool, and acceptable in society. And I was like, huh? So he kind of told me the story about his high school. And he said, growing up, which it was around that time, he's like, teachers couldn't have tattoos, but once, or even like have like motorcycles back then or something. It was like, whoa.
Yeah, man, he was always gave that persona of the teacher that everybody wanted to have. That
Still does,
and
right?
right, and the things with Sean, and it's just I don't know. I'm excited to dive deep into the character and the show and everything he did prior to that too.
Yeah.
Just to kind of pick the brain of the guy that brought him to life.
Yeah, man. I mean, shall we get to it?
Yeah, man. We got episode 66 for the fans by the fans. We got our friend Tony Quinn. What's
Hey
Mr.
happening?
guys,
Turner.
how
What's
are you
going on, buddy?
guys?
Hey, Mr.
Hey, we're
Turner.
we're here, we're live. How are you?
We are live, and it is amazing seeing us three on screen together. Not that we're anything,
Right.
but like, to have Mr. Turner come onto our show is the one of the best gifts of the, I guess it's not the new year, but like, yeah.
Leading into holidays. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm certainly humbled by your kind words. For sure, it's a pleasure to be here.
I mean, honestly, I want to go back way before Boy Meets World to kick this thing off. I want to know, what molded you to be the adult that you are. Take us back to where you're from and how you got your start.
Oh boy, I grew up. I always kind of feel like I grew up in two places. I grew up in a town called Rockford, Illinois, from the time I was just a little kid to about 19. And then I feel like I moved to California, Los Angeles at 19. Kind of became a man when I was here from 19 onward. I've lived here since I was 19 years old. Um, Kind of always wanted to be an actor when I was in Rockford, but I didn't really feel like there was no place to go with it there. So I felt like if you really wanted to pursue it, you really wanted to do it, you had to be in Los Angeles to really pursue it. So that's what I did at 19. I kind of came out and started trying to put myself in the arena, see what I could do.
19 years old. So, I mean, there had to be crazy amounts of anxiety. I mean, the fear of the unknown. I mean, I'm sure you knew that's what you wanted to do with your life. That's why you made the jump. But what was it like when you first got there? It couldn't have been easy.
No, I mean, when I first started, I look back on it now, it's funny because you sort of have a lofty estimation of yourself. I mean, there has to be a certain amount of ego involved to
Oh,
even
yeah.
to do this, you know? And how I viewed myself, I look back on this now and I kind of laugh about it, but I felt like I was already a star, and I just had to come out to California and have everybody realize what I already knew.
Wow.
And when I first got here, about 2 months later, I found myself auditioning for my first professional job, which was a feature film. I was at a gym. I was working out at a gym, and this casting director, who I didn't know he was a casting director, but he had come up to me and he goes, "Hey, you're an actor, right?" And I was like, "Of course. See, everybody knows now. Everybody's seeing what I already know." And I go, "Yeah, of course I am." And he goes, "Well, I think you have the right look for this film we're doing. I'd like you to come in and read for it." So it was when I was a teenager. There was a film out called A Man Called Horse. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that film.
I'm not.
Okay, Richard Harris plays a guy who, it's a Western, takes place in the West, and he gets taken by American Indians, and he's sort of converted into being an Indian. It was called A Man Called Horse, and then they made a sequel called Return of the Man Called Horse. And this was now going to be a trilogy, and this was the third movie in the trilogy. And I can't remember if it was called Legend of a Man Called Horse, but I would have played his son. So here I am auditioning for this film.
Especially Richard Harris.
Yeah, and he was in one of my all-time favorite films ever, Camelot.
Yes, sir.
So I was thinking this is fantastic. So I'm auditioning for this film. I read for the casting director. He loved me, and I read for the director. He really liked me. I read for the producer. I read with the female lead that they were interested in. And I found myself, I was reading for it like again, and then they bring me in again. And at the time, I was only 19 years old, and I was going to Universal to read for this thing. And I saw all of the young sort of popular actors at the time reading for this film, for the role that I was reading for. And I think I remember seeing Scott Baio, who was about my age, and a few other guys that when I looked at them, I knew who they were. And I go, okay, so this must be a big deal because they're bringing these guys in, and these guys are celebrities that I know. And I found myself at some point at the producer's house reading with the producer, and we're going over it and reading it. And he keeps asking me, it's like, "Man, like, where are you from? I mean, what have you done?" And I said, "This is the first thing I've ever auditioned for." And he's like, "Man, that's unbelievable." And they wound up, I didn't get the part. They wound up going with somebody else, but I just thought, okay, so I'm on the right track. This is where I'm supposed to be, because I almost got the first thing I ever read for. So that was exciting. A little disappointing that I didn't get it, but it was exciting.
Yeah, that's a wild story, man. That's
yeah. So that's where sort of reality kind of set in, where you're kind of going, okay, I think I can do this. Yeah. But in reality, there's a lot of disappointment. There's a lot of rejection. People ask me now all the time. They say, "Hey, I'm thinking about being an actor. What is it? What do you have to do?" And I say, well, I mean, the beauty of the business is that it welcomes all comers. I mean, you can give it a try. I said, but just get ready for there's massive amounts of rejection. If you can handle that and you have a thick skin, then give it your best.
So were you prepared for that, for the idea of being rejected or the rejection of Hollywood?
No, I was not.
Yeah.
I was not.
It's hard to prepare for something like that.
Yeah, it is, because they don't, I mean, obviously they don't tell you that. I mean, I don't know how you can ever really prepare for that. Yeah. Except by doing it and going through the experience of it.
Yep.
And it's not fun. I mean, nobody likes to be rejected,
No.
Because you do have this idea of yourself that, like I said, there's a certain amount of ego involved, that you must think there's something about you that's interesting, that people would want to watch you do this.
Oh yeah.
So that when you don't get parts, or you get rejected, or they pass on you, or you think, okay, what's wrong? Am I not good enough? Dustin Hoffman, his definition of actors is, I think, the perfect definition, where he says all actors are egomaniacs with inferiority complexes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So true.
Yes.
So true,
Yes,
man.
definitely. Yeah. Well, don't you like me? Was I not good enough? I must be good enough.
That's really,
I,
really true.
I think a lot of success stories or people that find success in what they love, is having to fall down, and it's not so much about the way you fall or why you fall, but it's what are you going to do after that? Are you going to
Right.
turn around and go back to your home, or are you going to move forward?
Yeah. 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 I mean, obviously you got to give it, you got to be real. You got to sort of say, how much time am I going to give this? Because the sheer numbers of it, I mean, I don't know what the actual statistics are, but it's like 1% something of the total number of actors actually work and make a living at it.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's crazy, but it's
Yeah.
it's part of it, I guess you can
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. As Han Solo would say, never tell me the odds.
What a great
Yep.
role that was. What an
Yeah.
iconic role he played there. That's wild.
Han Solo?
Yeah, well, Harrison
Oh,
Ford,
yeah.
huh? I
Classic.
mean, we've had two Han Solos, but I'm gonna say Harrison Ford is the Han Solo.
Yeah, there is no such thing as two Han Solos.
You could tell a lot about a person on which Hans they like,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, anybody who says
Yeah.
the other one, I forgot his name, but
Yeah, exactly.
it's a no.
Yeah.
So I did want to ask you, because I had seen that you had worked in a lot of films doing just different things, but I had seen like in the early 2000s you were doing like things with was it the Born Supremacy,
I did
things
a
like
lot of
that.
voiceover stuff. That was a lot of voiceover stuff that I was doing.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's funny that when you do voiceovers and dialogue replacement and stuff, they add you to the cast list. So those things kind
Wow.
of go on your resume, but it's only voiceover credit. For a long time there was a stretch of time there where I was doing all of Jean-Claude Van Damme's voice double stuff for all of the dubs of his film. Because like when an
Really?
actor does a
What?
film, if he does like fights and like Jean-Claude was doing fight stuff and things like
Mhm.
that for his film, sometimes he's too busy to come back in and do his own stuff for the temp dubs of the film and stuff like that. So he won't come
Mhm.
in and do it. So they have to find a voice double to do all the stuff that has to cover because they didn't pick it up on the soundtrack. So you got to come in and do it so that they can play it for the studio or for the people that like the producers or whatever. So they have to have his vocal stuff. Sometimes they have to replace lines, and he's just too busy to come in and do it. So I did like 6 or 7 of his films in a row.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
those voice that I had no idea. I
Yeah.
had no idea that was a thing.
Yeah.
How do you prepare for something like that? I mean,
You just kind of like when you go in and do a voice match for the thing, they'll call you in, and it used to be the old fashioned where they would play it on the screen, and you would stand, much like you're doing, standing behind a mic, and you're
Mhm.
watching the film, but they're recording your voice, so you're actually acting to the picture and trying to match either his sound effect with his grunts or his hits or his actual line, and you try to sync it to what you're watching on screen, and you have his voice or his temporary line in your ear, and then you try to match it, and then they play it back over the real soundtrack, and it sounds just like him. So they go, that's a
Wow.
voice match, and we'll keep it, and it's great, and let's do the next cue.
That's bizarre, man. I've never heard of this.
either.
I mean, I've heard of
Yeah.
stunt doubles and or even just, like Steven Seagal, right? Steven Seagal is one of, even now one of the greatest like people, like but like, nowadays he uses a double to like walk across the street in movies.
No
Right.
way.
Which I mean, when it comes down to it, like a lot of actors have certain days they can work. So for those kind of scenes, a lot of times they use doubles just to do like things like that. But it's crazy to hear like for like voice doubles.
Because sometimes they're just too busy. They can't come in and they don't
Yeah.
have the time. So somebody has to do it. So they have to find someone that can voice match the actor.
Wow.
Huh.
Yeah, I've done Jean-Claude Van Damme. I did a few Chuck Norris films, quite a few Chuck Norris films.
That's
Just to name a couple
crazy.
of the greats, no big deal.
Yeah. And it's funny. You guys, are you familiar with the movie Ghost?
Yeah.
Patrick Swayze.
Oh yeah.
I did voice work on that film,
Come
and
on.
Tony Goldwyn in the film has a conversation with somebody on a phone,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm on the other end of the phone with him having the conversation. So when an actor's actually doing it, he's just saying his lines and there's no one on the other end of the phone. So if you're supposed to hear somebody on the phone, they got to go in and dub that later. So then when they play it back for the audience, everybody hears somebody on the phone. So that was me. So when I actually went to go see the film, I would tell all my friends, when I was with them, and I go, okay, ready, get ready. I'm going to have my conversation. You're going to hear it in a second. And then they'll play it and I go, that was me.
That's insane, man.
Wow.
I've never understood why they just don't have phone conversations, because you could be able to, now you could just record it.
Well, sometimes they do. Sometimes they do. Now, sometimes they do. And even like I've done a few soap operas, and what they'll do is when you have a phone conversation and you have to have two people on the phone, and they record both people on the phone, so you could actually hear the other person on the phone. But when I was doing the soap opera, they were showing you talking and then cutting to them talking, but we were talking real time on the phone. It was like a live line that we could talk to each other. But when you're doing a film, sometimes it just doesn't, they don't have that. So you have to act. I mean, I've done it before where you're on the phone and you're talking to somebody and you're saying the lines and then you're pretending that someone else is talking and then they dub it in later.
Wow, man.
So go ahead and take us back to, okay, so you came, you did the audition, you got called back, and then the answer was ultimately no. Where do you go from there?
Oh, you just go on to the next job, the next thing. And oddly enough, I had gotten an agent off of that particular thing because the casting director said, I know an agent that you should meet. So he hooked me up with his agent. The agent met me. He really liked me. I told him that I had just auditioned for this film and came, an inch away from getting the film. So then, he started submitting me on some other things, and I auditioned for a pilot at ABC. Got real close to that. Auditioned for another, like a Paul Newman film.
Oh yeah.
Got really close to that, and then didn't get it. And then you just move on to the next project and try to get another job and see if you can find something that actually works for you.
So it looked like on the timeline wise, you were shooting Melrose Place at the same time that you were shooting some of your stuff with Boy Meets World, or were they directly after?
Melrose Place was after Boy Meets World.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
No, I had just finished a show that I did for Fox. We had just wrapped the series. We did 13 episodes. This was in '97. Sometime in December, we wrapped the show, and about a week later, because we did the show that I was doing was for Fox, and Melrose Place was on Fox. And after we wrapped that show, my manager had called me and said, "Listen, they want you to come in and to play a recurring role on Melrose Place, starting in January of '98."
Wow.
So I was finished with Boy Meets World at that time.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I guess we can go ahead and start talking about Boy Meets World.
Boy Meets World.
I'm pretty sure, by the way, let's just say this right now. I'm pretty sure we lost connection with the metaverse because
I see that too.
We had a lot of viewers and no one is here, which is crazy. So something that's definitely happening with StreamYard and Facebook and all of our socials. But they can watch the replay. Yeah. But I know they're probably not too happy right now, but we just want to say we love you guys. And this is not us. This is something to do with the metaverse.
Yeah. Trust me, I blame myself. I'm telling you, technology hates me.
We have never had this issue ever.
Of course. That's because I'm here. I'm here. It's me.
But worth it though,
Yeah.
Okay.
This could happen.
Oh yeah.
We could say
if you say so.
No, this conversation is just so easy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and All right, let's get in the meat potatoes of it. Like
All right,
you
meat
said,
potatoes.
let's talk about it. I mean,
All right,
growing
we'll go
up,
back to we'll do Boy Meets World. My experience with Boy Meets World, it's interesting. It's funny that it happened this way. It kind of goes back to the beginning a little bit. It's tell you a little funny story. I had first met Michael Jacobs, who was the creator of the show, Boy Meets World. I was doing a pilot with him. I think this was in '93. And we had assembled a really great cast for this pilot. It was Jason Bateman, Willie Garson, who just recently passed away. I'm still
That's right.
in shock about that. I want to
Yeah.
talk about that later, but remind me if I forget.
Yep.
It was Willie. It was Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Jana Marie Hupp, and myself.
Wow.
It was a pilot called Black Sheep. And if you were to walk up to Michael Jacobs to this day, and say, Michael, tell me what you think about the show Black Sheep. And he will tell you, he will say, that was a very good pilot. That was a good pilot. They should have picked that show up. But when we were doing the show, we filmed it over at Disney. And this was back when the Disney lot in Burbank they still only had like 5 stages over there. It was a really intimate little place to work. And now it's way different now. It's much bigger now. But one day we were over at the commissary, and Willie and I were having lunch, and he goes, I got to tell you, Michael's writing another show. Well, we're working on this one. I go, he is? What's he writing? He goes, it's a show. Right now it's called the Ben Savage Project.
Wow.
I said, okay. I said, now I'd never heard the name Ben Savage. I didn't know Ben, and I didn't connect it to Fred Savage,
Yeah.
So for some reason, I just kind of thought Ben Savage, okay, it sounds like an older guy. I mean, what is he, like a stand-up comic or something?
He was like 9 at the time.
Yeah. So I thought to myself, it doesn't matter what Michael's writing right now, because this is his hit. The show that we're doing currently right now is going to be a massive hit for him.
Yeah.
So it ain't going to matter what other shows he's writing. So we filmed the show, and Fox did not agree with my assessment of the show. They didn't pick it up.
Wow.
Which to this day, I'm still just kind of, I mean, we thought we had something special.
Yeah.
But we didn't get picked up. So about 2 weeks later, Michael called me, because Michael and I had developed a really good working relationship, a good friendship during that pilot. And he goes, hey, I want you to come in and read for this Ben Savage project. I said, okay. So I went into his office. His office was over at Disney in the animation building. And I read for the part of Alan Matthews. So
I could see it.
They liked me. I read for the director. I read for the producers. The writers were there. They thought I was very funny. I had a great time reading for it. And Michael said, I want to bring in a network. He goes, the only problem I have, he goes, I think the network is going to think you play a little young. He said, so let's kind of age you up, kind of, at that time, I think I had a little bit long hair. And he said, let's kind of calm the hair down a little bit and dress a little older. I said, okay. So I go in and I go to ABC, the network. And that's where I first met Ben, because I didn't know Ben.
Wow.
And I think at the time when I met Ben in network, he was, I think, 10.
Wow.
And he was just turning 11. They hadn't done the show yet. This was just for the pilot. So he and I read together at the network, and we did great. He was wonderful to work with. He was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun together. But then I got a call from Michael, and he said, yeah, he goes, I was afraid of that. He goes, the network thinks you just quite play old enough. So, of course, in the next season, he brought me back for Mr. Turner, and then the rest is history.
What a backhanded compliment. Like, hey, man, you're young. You play young.
Right.
But,
Right. And oddly enough, I went on about 5 months later. I went on to do a show called Someone Like Me with Patricia Heaton.
Yeah.
Where I played a father on the show, which I thought was interesting.
And you did a great job doing that, by the way.
Did you see? Do you know the show I'm talking about?
I do. Yes, sir. I watch a lot of movies and shows though.
Okay.
Especially anything in the 90s and early 2000s.
Okay.
And I guess like even the pilot you're speaking of, like I know pretty much all the cast members you named, of course, like just Jeffrey Dean Morgan and everybody, but like that sounds like something that should have passed.
Yeah. And at the time, The only one that was really well known was Jason.
Yeah.
For that show. Jeffrey
'cause-
really hadn't done a whole
no.
lot.
Yeah.
I had done a few pilots here and there, but I hadn't done a lot. Willie really hadn't worked all that much. I mean, he worked, but he wasn't really well known
That's
at
crazy.
the time. Yeah, so we were all just kind of starting out.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with like I did a show with Sandy Bullock in
Wow.
'89. We did a series, and this is before Sandy was, not really well known.
Yep.
So
yeah, now she was very very young at that time, but wasn't well known, and everyone called her Sandy. Now they call her Sandra.
Yeah, I know. It's hard with it's hard to call her Sandra. It's like
Yeah.
Sandy. What do you? Come on.
That's what I was telling my girlfriend earlier. She was like, because I was like, yeah, his real name is Anthony, Quinn, but I'm gonna call him Tony. And then you were like, no, you can just call me Mr. Turner.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Either one. Usually anybody that calls me Anthony, it's because I'm in trouble.
That's true.
Yeah.
I could see that. And that's why I didn't want to do it. But I do want to say there are a lot of people watching you. They said they're not allowed to comment for some reason. But they can still see the live video.
Okay. I'm telling you, it's because it's me. You don't believe me.
Look, Facebook and this metaverse, they're all combining everything into one platform, and it's it's clearly unstable, but
just like my last relationship. Very rocky at best,
Yeah, man. But Mr. Tony, we kind of really do want to talk about this. First of all, what was the auditioning process? Did you have to audition for Mr. Turner, or did
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
So what was
that
like?
Well, when Michael, like I said, Michael and I had a great relationship. So he called me one day and he goes, listen, I want to bring in Reed for this show. He goes, I know we didn't cast you as the dad.
Yeah.
He said, but I want you to come in and read for this role. So he sent me the script and he goes, would you read for it? I was like, of course. I said, if it's for you, I'll do it. I'll read for it. Wow. He goes, but the problem is, it's not a starring role. And I go, Michael, I don't care.
Yeah.
I just like working. I said, I like working with you. So if I can work with you, I don't care. And he goes, well, just know sometimes there might be a week or 2 weeks or whatever where you won't have a lot to do. And I go, I don't care. I just like working. It's just, So I auditioned for him and he really liked it. So he brought me to network. And this was the following year after I went to network for The Father. And then I went to network for the role of Mr. Turner. And, quite often when you audition for something like that at network, you don't know until maybe the next day, or possibly you drive all the way home and then you'll get a phone call maybe later in the afternoon. But I auditioned for the role. I had gone into the green room after I auditioned for the role at network. I was sitting down for a second and I was calling my manager, my agent or something like that. Michael came in with there's 2 other people. He came in, he winked at me and he goes, you blew the role away. You blew it away. Get out of here. I'll see you in a month, So I knew I had the job and it was a great drive home because I'm like, knew I was going to be working. So that was a lot of fun.
Wow, man.
Yeah. So you're coming on to a show that's established at this point. I mean, their characters are outside of the whole Topanga and Sean thing where they went back and forth on having Sean in or not having Sean in. Everybody's established at the point that you get there. What are those relationships like when you step on set?
Sometimes you're a little nervous because you're thinking, gosh, I hope I fit in with everybody. I hope they like me. I hope I like them. I hope it's a, mutual thing where it's a great working relationship for everybody. But because I already knew Michael and I'd already met Ben, I stepped right in and, it was sort of an immediate thing where everybody just felt comfortable. I felt comfortable, and I thought this definitely feels right. This is going to be a very easy transition for everybody.
Wow.
Yeah, that was great.
So when it comes down to you, shaping as Mr. Turner, what did you have to do to actually dive into that role and to become Mr. Turner?
To a certain degree, when you read the first scene or the first script, you get an idea. Michael was telling me what he wanted.
Okay.
from the character. So then I sort of give him what he wants and what I want.
Mhm.
I always liked the concept that he really cared about the students,
Yeah.
that he really wanted to reach them, that he wanted to try to sort of see things from their viewpoint, as well as giving them his viewpoint and see if there was a way that they could kind of meet in the middle. But ultimately, his desire and his passion was that he really cared about them as people.
Yeah.
So we really tried to hone in on that. And I think there's a couple of moments where I tell George that I really want to try to relate to them. There's got to be a
Yep.
way that we can reach them by relating to them, not just,
Mhm.
talking down to them and all that stuff. So I really like that aspect of that character. And I tried to
Wow.
really tap into that as much as I could.
Yeah.
I found myself this entire week really a lot today, and talking to Caleb about it as well. I found myself asking, what is it about that era, or more
Mm.
specifically, Boy Meets World, that really just grabbed us, and I mean honestly held us tight through these last 2 decades. And what I think it comes down to is that kind of show had the writing style of, let's break these walls. I mean, I'm talking interrelationships. You're talking about loss of life numerous
Yeah.
times, and just
Mm,
the way that the teachers handled it with the students was something that we had never seen before. I mean,
Mhm.
what
yeah,
do you
yeah.
contribute the success to?
Um, I think to a certain extent, I've said this before. I feel like Boy Meets World was that last show on the air where I feel like the adults were in charge, um,
Yeah.
where
Wow.
there was a fence and a boundary where the adults literally were the leaders of the kids, to show them right and wrong, to show them where they could go, where they couldn't go, because kids need that. They need boundaries.
Yeah.
And if they don't have boundaries, then they're just boundless. They don't
Mm.
thrive under leadership, you know? So for that show to be that, and I think obviously you want to play with that a little bit, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
but I felt like the parents for sure were in charge. So the kids could look to the stability of the parents to sort of guide them and be the leaders. They could look to the students like Mr. Feeney or Mr. Turner. Mr. Turner was kind of trying to play around, see where the fence really was a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
But I feel like maybe that's what people responded to.
Mhm.
That that show really had that element. Now
Yeah.
it's like the kids are raising themselves on show, and the adults are all idiots.
That's
Yeah.
true. Man, that's wow, that's really a true statement. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Boy Meets World was so known to, kind of tackle, and as well as Girl Meets World, right? It was so
Right.
well known to tackle real issues among
Mm-hmm.
bullying, among love, among just in general real issues. But it goes back to like the episode where you had said, no tests, and Corey decides to stand up for what he believes in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
which was so, it's just so weird watching all these years later and still being so relatable and
Right.
so I don't know, like to me when I'm watching Boy Meets World, it's, I guess you can say it's more of a, it's not I don't know how you would word it, but it's just realistic to me, I guess you can say, in so many ways, and
Yeah.
relatable,
Yeah.
Ahead of its
uh,
time.
Yeah.
way
I,
ahead of
I
its
would agree with
time,
that.
man.
I
You
think
know.
obviously a lot of credit could go to the actors, Ben, Ryder,
Mm,
Danielle. I mean, there was something really charming and endearing about them as
mhm.
people, playing those characters, and of course Will
Yeah,
Friedle, who was just hilarious. And let me just tell you something about Will Friedle. Okay,
sure.
he and I became like brothers on the show,
Wow.
and we're still like brothers to this day. And he is by far the funniest actor I've ever worked with. He is one of the funniest people I've ever known in my life. And just when you think he's funny on the show,
Hmm.
that doesn't even begin to touch the surface and he's hilarious on the show.
Yeah, yeah.
But he is absolutely hilarious. So, to be able to, to watch him do the things he did on that show, he's so watchable. Same thing with Ben. Some of the things that Ben was able to do, and Ryder, and their chemistry as friends, you're really rooting for those guys.
You are.
You're really rooting for Ben and Danielle as a couple, as friends. There's a couple of moments in that show where, I mean, I look back on it today, and maybe this is just my sentimental side, but because when I first met them, they were just kids. But you see them being friends and getting, in trouble, and getting in trouble with each other and making up. And there's moments on that show that I watch and it brings tears to my eyes because I just think, they're so cute, So, I think a lot of credit goes to them as just being very watchable and relatable as those characters as well.
No, most definitely. Because like you said, the shows today, we talk about this quite a lot with different people, but the shows today, it's really just nothing that we can relate to. Even thinking back as kids and with a kid mindset or anything, especially some of the things that comes out for kids today, there's no way 20 years ago I could have related to it. But watching Boy Meets World and watching so many different ones, from the 90s itself and early 2000s, all relatable. But it's just weird how the world kind of changed with TV sitcoms and the writing of it.
Yeah. I mean, when we did the show, I don't know if I'm really being honest. I don't know if we knew that it was going to have the longevity that it has. I mean, I know that when I started doing the show, because I had not seen the first season, because I wasn't on the first season. I was busy doing my own shows and my own episodes of other things, so I was busy. But when I joined the cast, I felt that it was something special. I felt that every week we were doing things that I thought were memorable. I thought we were doing things that were special. But did I think it was going to be what it is today? No. I didn't think so. I mean, and I was, I certainly could have been wrong because, like I was saying about Black Sheep, I mean, we really felt like we had something special. I mean, we really did.
Yeah.
That's why we were so shocked when that show didn't get picked up, because I was like, what? That's impossible. How did they pass on that show? So, I mean, I didn't really think that it was going to be so memorable. And then when I left the show, when the network, because sometimes they just do this. They decide to go in a different direction or whatever. I remember the day Michael called me and he said, "Hey, you're not going to come back for the next season." I was like, "Oh, okay. Why?" And he didn't really say.
Wow.
But he just said the network wants to go in a different direction, whatever. So I just moved on. I just said, "Okay, you don't want to bring me back, that's fine." And Michael was like, I really apologize. It wasn't me. It was the network, whatever.
Yeah.
So as an actor, you just go on to try to join another show. You try to get on something else and do something else and do other work. So, that was kind of an interesting thing because when he told me that, he said, "You're going to play out the rest of this season." I think that was 96. So I was in the last episode that I was in. I can't remember if it was a two-parter or not. But it was the episode where Sean joins the cult.
Yep.
And so I think my last scene was when I was in the cast in the bed.
Yeah.
I think that was my actual last scene.
Wow.
But I was still under contract for the entire season, but they only used me for a certain number of seasons. So, I mean, a certain number of episodes. So, when they told me they weren't bringing me back, I started auditioning for other things. So in 97, because I assumed that my contract was up because it was 96, 97. So sometime in March of 97, my contract was going to be up. So I was auditioning for this pilot called Ask Harriet, produced by David Cassidy. And
wow.
I auditioned for it, and then I started getting closer, and I started getting closer and closer and closer, and it's really coming down to the wire. And I thought, I'm I'm going to book this show. And I get a phone call from my manager because I was going to the studio over at Columbia, and my manager said, "Hey, there's a problem." And I go, "What's the problem?" And he goes, "Well, Disney is having some issues. They don't want to let you out of your contract." And I said,
Whoa.
hang on. Wait, what? I was like, they let me go. They told me that I wasn't coming back. What do they mean they're not paying me? So it's like, unless they want to, redo another contract and start sending me paychecks, they can't do this. So then there was going to be a problem. So I had to get on the phone with my manager. Then my manager had to contact the producers of Ask Harriet. Ask Harriet had to talk to Disney because Disney was kind of going, we don't want to let him out of his contract. So they finally agreed, and then I was out of my contract and I was able to do the show.
Wow.
Like I found myself when you were talking about how big of a impact that the show's had. I found myself like getting somewhat emotional about it because there's really two shows that I credit to, honest to God, help shaping who I am today, right? It's Boy Meets World, and then it's Friday Night Lights. And Friday Night Lights had nothing to do with the football aspect and everything to do with the way the coach handles his players and treats them,
right?
And mentors them and molds them. And that's the same thing that show did. When you were told, hey, this is the end of the road for your Boy Meets World career, I mean, it seems like, you're the kind of guy that's ready to move on and, hey, that's business and that's life. But it had to have shook you some sort of way to have to leave, a project like that, correct?
Yeah, I was upset a little bit because I felt like they were starting to really tap into something that I thought was important.
Definitely.
With Mr. Turner really truly being almost like a father figure to his student. Yep. So a student is becoming much more than a student. So you saw that Mr. Turner really loved this young man.
Yeah.
And cared what happened to him, and I thought, once you establish a bond like that, I felt, in all humility, I felt like they did a disservice to the fan base by just kind of just dropping it and not really addressing it anymore. And the fans
happened so fast, Tony.
What?
So fast.
What? It's like what? So I felt like, I'm a fan too, and I hate it when either authors or producers do that, and the character just doesn't come back, and you're going, what happened to that? What happened to this person? What? I loved that person. Where'd he go?
Explain it to me, please, as an audience.
Which, go ahead.
As an actor, I was upset that we weren't going to be able to dig into that more because I really had a lot of fun playing that.
And it was definitely, from a fan's perspective and from a very, very big fan, I would say we were all upset and very emotional. Even today, I know, you had come back to Girl Meets World, which we'll talk about shortly, but we were still very upset because, the worst thing about it, and there's so many TV shows that I don't know why which, I mean, the writers, there's so many writers always writing episodes and going different directions, but like you said, you had already been established, like this is shaping up and forming up to be something, and then after that episode you were gone, and there was no Google, maybe there was, but like there was nothing to find out, like, are you coming back, things like that, and it was upsetting.
and most of the time in situations like that, it's the actor that wants to leave the show.
Yeah, that's true.
Because, like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the show MASH. Do you watch that show?
Yeah. Grew up watching it.
Okay. Now you're talking.
Classic, man.
When McLean Stevenson after he did the third season, I think it was the third season. Will would probably know better than this. That's his favorite show. McLean wanted to leave the show because he didn't like the working conditions, or at least this is what has been said, or what he said. So he wanted to leave, and the producers were upset. So they decided to kill his character. So that's why Henry Blake died, because the producers or the writers or Larry Gelbart or whoever decided said, doggone it, we're going to kill his character. but in a situation like this, I was perfectly happy to play Mr. Turner for as long as I could.
Yeah.
So for them to just kind of go, yeah, no, we're not going to go in that direction. Let's just not talk about it no more. It's like, ah, come on. There was so much gold there. You could have mined
Yeah.
so much treasure.
Yep.
Yeah.
The TV show could have been extended.
Yes.
Could have never ending.
And
know,
it's still to this day, it blows my mind. It really
Yeah.
does. When you had just said that this show shaped your life. I mean, I've had people literally kind of bring me to tears telling me very similar stories where they say,
Wow.
because of you and because of that character, you inspired me to do this, and I'm doing this now, and it's because of
Wow.
you. And I mean, I'm just like, are you for real? that's just
Yeah.
that's just the stuff that as a young actor, you dream about that stuff. I mean, the first goal as a young actor, and I can't speak for any other actors but myself, but the first goal you have as an actor, or the first sort of landmark, is to just be on a show, or to get a job somewhere, so that you can tell friends or family, I'm going to be on this show on this night, and you can see my face, and I have a line, or I have 2 lines. So that's the first thing. The second real goal is to be like a series regular, to be something that you can do week to week, and you're always working. And the third one for me would be it was always to do something that's long lasting or meaningful, that really impacts people's lives in that way. So to have people say those things, I still can't sometimes wrap my head around it, especially in this next generation that we live in.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 10,000 things screaming for your attention moment by moment. I mean, the fact that anybody remembers me from that show, it's like, really? That's 25 years ago, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, in the entertainment industry, or just in life. I mean, that's 100 years. It might as well be.
Well, I can definitely tell you a because of you story. One of the things that brings thoughts to, like, growing up. Because of you, I was very let down by teachers in school, because there was nobody like you, man. There was nobody. I mean, there was one. I remember there was one person who had some traits from Mr. Turner, but because of you, I was very disappointed when I hit junior high and high school.
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool. I mean, it's bad, but it's cool to hear.
Yeah,
it's the truth, though, man. I mean, we're products of our environment, right? Like I'm a 33-year-old who's a senior at the university while working full time and raising a family, and it's because I want to teach, and everybody has a dream of doing something they love, and obviously you got to carry out your dream, but to be able to help mold the generation that's going to be running the country someday, and some kind of capacity, and through a show, you did that, man. I mean, a whole generation of people, can look back to what they were doing the day that you ended up in a cast, and it was never explained again.
Wow, it's very humbling. I just kind of, like I said, I can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, for all these years later, and which comes up to a question someone had asked was, so someone earlier said he sounds the exact same. So someone was wondering about the accent. How exactly did you form that? And because I mean, you do have similar sounding, you do sound similar, but I just, you can tell it sets you apart from the character, from who you are.
I think the accent, because Michael is from New Jersey.
Okay.
That's right. So he's got a very distinct sort of accent himself. And, when I first met him, me and Willie used to do an incredible imitation of Michael, and it was always hilarious. So, Mr. Turner, that whole backstory was that he was from the East Coast, and he wanted to strike out on his own, and he didn't want to do in the the sort of the family business, so he wanted to be his own thing from the East Coast. He's wanted Philadelphia, so they kind of wanted him to be a little bit more street, sound a little bit more street kind of thing. So that's where that kind of came from, and it just kind of stuck, and we just kind of took it from there, and it worked.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely did because just thinking back from the first episode, it was I don't know, was it season 2, episode 3 or something like that. When you first made your appearance and
That was season 2, episode 1, I think, wasn't
episode 1. Okay, it was
Yeah,
episode 1.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Just thinking about that, like from your very first scene of your interaction with Corey, and when you were like, let's see, you had come out from the hall, and
Yeah.
it seemed like your character was so well established, like you already knew who it was, and
Yeah.
who you were going to be for the entire series.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's why. I mean, the whole thing about him riding a motorcycle, and he's got a helmet, he's got sunglasses, he's got an earring. He definitely couldn't have sounded like Mr. Feeney.
That's true.
He had to be a little different. Which that's what I loved about that first scene, was when he comes in and he saves him from Harley.
Yeah.
So he doesn't want a student to get beat up. I really enjoyed that scene. That was a lot of fun.
So we have you for just a little bit longer, man. I want to go ahead and jump into Girl Meets World.
Okay.
That kind of seems to me more of a Ben Savage project,
Yes.
rather than the first one, the Ben Savage Show. What
Yes.
was getting that call like to come back?
That's another funny story. I had no idea that Michael was going to do Girl Meets World. And like I said, this is one of those things where the show is so popular. And like you say, people are watching it, and everybody watches reruns and the DVDs, and people tell me all the time they remember me and they love the show and all this stuff. And all of a sudden, and like I said, I don't really have social media anymore. I used to have it. My kids talked me into doing it and all that stuff, so I had it. But all of a sudden I started getting all these comments and all of these likes and things, and I'm going, what is happening? I don't know what. And a lot of the comments and things were very non-specific. Oh, this is so exciting. This is going to be great. And I'm going, what are we talking about? And I was getting emails from people. Are you excited? This is so cool. And I'm going,
wow.
I don't know what are you talking about? And then somebody had sent me some, interview thing saying, we would like to interview you. And I go, interview me for what? Boy Meets World? And they go, we want to interview you for Girl Meets World. And I go, what? And they said, it's a new show. Are you going to be part of it? And I go, I don't think so. No, nobody. So I called Michael and I said, Michael, do you have any idea what kind of firestorm you've started for me? I said, I don't even know what we're talking about here. So we got together and we were joking about it. And he goes, yeah, I'm doing this show, Girl Meets World. And I said, oh, that's great. I said, but everybody's asking me if I'm going to be a part of it. I don't know anything about it. And he goes, well, of course I want to bring you back and it's going to be great. He said, but it's going to be like a while, probably after the first season. I said, oh, whatever. I said, that'd be great. It'd be great to work with you again.
Yeah.
But I was a little afraid to try to play that character again after 20 years because I was older, and I'm thinking I don't want the memory of it to be tarnished at all.
Yeah.
Are people going to think, you had lightning in a bottle before, but it's not working now? So I was really nervous about it. But Michael just kind of said, it's going to be fun. We're going to have a great time with it. So as long as we have fun, it's going to be great. So I was really happy to go back. And I really felt when they did the final episode that we did, when we had everybody in that same room and Sean and I were able to give each other a hug, and that for me felt this was important to do because I want to do this for the fans of the show.
Yes.
To have this moment was important for them.
To have that closure was very, thinking back on that scene, just in general, where very few words were said, for the exchange of you and Sean.
Yeah.
It's goosebumps for me, but
and I got to be honest, when we hugged that day, for real, when we were doing it for the last time, for me, it was goosebumps.
I bet.
It really was. We rehearsed it and we had fun doing it, but we knew that the last time we did the take, and this was the take, and we hugged each other, we held each other for just a few seconds longer because we knew that was it. Yeah.
Wow.
It's closure, man. It's and it's weird to say about fictional characters, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I always feel weird saying it. I wonder if people look at the way I say it, like, dude, you're crazy. But it's such a huge part of our life. Like,
No, dude, like
you
you're saying
love
it.
these guys, man.
Yeah, it's shaped you. It's made you
Yeah.
feel
Crazy.
certain things. It taps into some emotions, and you can't
Oh,
help
yeah.
but bond with, these characters.
It was definitely a beautiful moment. It was incredible for you to, for you to come back, because there's, we live in a day of age where a lot of people are, I wouldn't say ashamed of of coming back 10, 20, 30 years later and embodying that character all over again. But a
Yeah.
lot of people, there's always like, I've moved on,
Yeah.
I'm good. But it was
Yeah.
incredible for you to actually to come back, and I guess the best way to do it is to give the fan service.
Yeah, and
I
that's
mean,
what it was really all about for me. I
yeah,
mean, obviously, I wanted to work with Michael again. I wanted to see Ben and Danielle and
yeah,
Ryder, and to see Will, and to be on the same stage with those people again after so many years was like a big family reunion.
yeah,
So that was really fun for me. But what was most important is I felt like they really owed the fans that moment, and to give it back to them, it was like, yeah, I want to be a part of that.
well, you definitely did. You definitely
Well,
gave us everything we could have dreamed of, 20 years later.
that's what I wanted to do. That's good.
Yeah, mission accomplished.
Excellent. Excellent.
Getting emotional here.
Yeah. Don't get me started. Come on.
I know. I'm trying.
I'm actually shocked we made it this entire hour with all the crazy technical difficulties that happened before you got on. I mean,
Yeah.
during. So it's not you. It's whatever's in the world right now.
Okay. Well, good. I'm glad we did it.
I got one more for you, man.
Okay.
This is always a question I like to ask people that have done what they do for a while. There's no wrong answer, obviously, but if you could go back, to that 19-year-old kid that moved to California, what advice would you give yourself?
Oh man. Don't do it. No. Go back. Turn around.
Best answer yet.
I don't know.
Join a gang.
Yeah. I don't know if I would. First of all, that 19-year-old kid wouldn't have listened, to be quite honest.
True.
But if I would talk to my 19-year-old self, I would maybe say, don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah.
And just hang in there,
Definitely well said. Definitely well said. I'm only 28, so
Okay.
that was
Okay.
about, little over 10 years.
Okay.
But I don't feel like I'm wise or I've lived enough to even give my a 19-year-old version of me advice yet.
Yeah.
But that was really, really well said, man.
Well, thank you.
Man, I can't thank you enough. We've been saying it for the last 2 weeks, like bucket list episode, hands down. We did a video prior last week, and we were asking the people, who from the 90s and 2000s would you want to see on an episode? And it was, the idea of somebody from Boy Meets World got brought up, and they're like, what about Mr. Turner? And Caleb
Wow.
took that idea and sprinted to the finish
24
line.
hours later.
You did it, man. Good for you. Good for you.
Literally 24 hours later, I was like, okay, we're gonna make this happen. But truthfully, man, I felt it was very important to have you, of all people to have you, just because, we kind of looked up to you, as an adult, as a teacher, as someone for guidance, even though you were this character on a show.
Right.
But you kind of helped pave and guide us through a lot of things, and
Wow.
gave us a lot of hope to have a teacher like you, even though it didn't happen for me. But to know there are teachers out there who are like you.
Oh, that's great, man. I see we've come full circle now. Here we are. We're all together here on this show.
Yep.
And that's a great moment. I really appreciate you guys asking me to be a part of it.
What's the plans for the holidays in the Quinn household, man? What do you guys do for Thanksgiving?
Real quiet. Real quiet stuff. We just kind of hang out, make a small intimate dinner. Probably my wife and her husband will come over and hang out, me and my wife, and we'll just, spend a few hours, and that's about it. It's very simple. How about you guys?
Yeah. Well, mine's a little bit longer. Go ahead, Caleb. I travel.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not I don't think we're doing much. I think we're doing Thanksgiving at our house for the first time. We've had this house for about 4 years, Vicky and myself and our dog Precious, and Precious is not doing so well, and she's not gonna be with us a lot longer. So we're actually
Oh,
gonna
man.
have Thanksgiving here, and our family's gonna come here, and because she's unable to travel, and but yeah, so I think we're gonna have some turkey, some gumbo,
Oh, nice.
and yeah,
Very nice.
yes sir.
Well, I try to get as far away from our house as we can because the fear of hosting something that big in my mind, because our family's huge, dude. So
Okay.
when we go to other places, and I hope hopefully this isn't live, so I don't think they're watching, but you can
Right.
leave. You can leave other people's homes, right? When it's your
Yes.
house, I'm like, what do I do to get out of here? But anyway, so we stop on Thanksgiving at noon at the Weiss families. Then we go to a friend who's been my friend my whole life. We go and have Thanksgiving supper there in another town, and then we drive another 100 miles to my mom's town and then do
Oh,
a
man,
Thanksgiving
100
there.
miles. Wow.
And my math is always off, but I'm pretty
Nope.
sure she has like 10 siblings, something like that, a bunch of sisters and a bunch of brothers, and
Wow.
they all have kids who now have kids, and we all.
Oh, my goodness.
But it's one of our last hurrahs back there because grandma's getting up there in age, so we're gonna do it one more time, I think.
Yep. You got to mark the time with those people.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird without her.
Yeah.
It's really weird without my grandparents or anyone like that.
Yeah.
Most of them have passed on, and I kind of think back that the next generation is would be my parents and everything, but I would always think about that, how like every time someone who's older passes away, who's a part of my family, it's like it just feels strange, because it kind of gives us the responsibility and us getting closer to be like the leaders of the family, and it gets kind of scary thinking about that.
Yeah. My father-in-law right now is I think I look back on my time with him. I met him when I was 14. He was only 51, and now he's in a home, and he's got dementia, and doesn't know anybody. So you're just thinking, man, that's really rough, because he doesn't know me, but I still know him, and it just seems so weird, without him. I mean, he's still there, but he doesn't know you. So,
dude, that's like my biggest fear. Honestly, I don't know if we're still alive or if we're not, or if we're just talking us three. But
yeah, we're still alive. It's good.
That's like my biggest fear, dude. Is all these memories we collect, growing up. I mean, going back to the show type stuff, like all that stuff. Just imagine, then your son-in-law, or your daughter, walk in, and there's going to be a day that you don't know who that is. That's so scary to me.
Maybe.
maybe.
And that day may never come. So
that's true.
Sometimes, to worry about that. I've heard, somebody describe worrying is like paying a bill you don't owe.
That's well said.
Yeah, because you think, man, I'm going to worry about this, but then that never happens, and something else that you weren't thinking about happens, and now you got to deal with that. So you deal with it if it happens. Mm-hmm. If you have something that you can't worry about that in advance.
Yeah.
Because that's true. I mean, just enjoy the moment you have now, I guess. What else can you do?
Yeah, that's what we're doing with my Chihuahua. We're enjoying every single day, every moment we have left, and
exactly.
They gave her a 2 months expectancy. So we're just, and when, we've always enjoyed and we've taken every moment, but now it's like, her name is Precious, but this is the precious moments, that we're really taking in, and, not worrying.
At least though, that, she's not doing well. So that every day you can really kind of seize that moment and just appreciate them while they're there, because, obviously death is coming for all of us.
Yeah.
I had a situation where my brother-in-law was killed in a motorcycle accident, and
Wow.
we just happened to be in town and we were visiting and stuff like that. And we saw each other on a Thursday night, and I hugged him and I said, listen, we're supposed to be getting together on a Saturday. And I said, I'll see you Saturday. See you Saturday night. Hugged him, and he was killed Friday. So you just never know.
Wow.
You just never know. All you can do is just say, obviously tomorrow is not promised.
Yeah.
So today is all we have. So, like with your grandma, you just kind of have to say she's here now, give her a hug, tell her you love her. What else can you do?
It's crazy, man. It really is. It's such a short stint that we're here, right? You don't think about it like that, but in reality, like you're not here very long. Like do something to make an impression on somebody every single day. You know?
However small it may be,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm getting a nice lesson from Mr. Turner right now.
Hey, there's our Instagram clip. There it is.
There it is. Another bucket checked off. Bucket list gone.
Got a lesson from Mr. Turner. Check.
That's it. Yeah. That's it.
I'm good. It doesn't get much better than that, brother.
Awesome.
Hey man, we appreciate you, man. Anytime you want to come on and chat, anything we can ever do, we'll keep in contact. Caleb's really good with keeping in contact with everybody we have on. And hey, shout out to your friend. I think at one time you said best friend at some point, Will. If he needs somewhere to talk or somebody to talk to,
okay,
we could be his guy.
Okay.
Yeah,
he's a great guy.
Yeah, man, he seems super cool.
Yeah, it's been an amazing episode. It's been a huge honor and I would say privilege to having you coming on the show and finally getting to meet you all these years of taking your lessons yearly. But it's been an incredible show, man, and we're truly in just having you being a part of it. This is episode 66, man, and it's a perfect number, in every way. Awesome. for you to be here. And like I said, if there's anything we can do for you whatsoever, if you have any future projects you want to promote, let us know. Okay. We're a very open show to like doing whatever we can for other people. And
awesome. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys. Keep doing what you're doing because it's fantastic. You've been able to do this. Started during COVID, and you guys are in different cities, and you join together. So keep it up, man. Keep it up. You never know where it could take you.
Thanks, Mr. Turner.
You got it.
If it's anything like these last few have been, man, it's all about the experience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even if this thing were to end tomorrow, we're content with the product that we put out there. And,
this is it.
Well, that's great. That's great. Good for you guys.
Be safe too.
So stay with us for a second. We're gonna go ahead and end the show, but we'll be with you in just a second.
Okay, sounds good.
Oh, it's the Frickin' Frack Show, a podcast for the fans by the fans. This is the Frickin' Frack Show, a podcast for the fans by the fans.
Frickin' Frack Show, a podcast for the fans by the fans.